Hello my friends, let's talk Final Fantasy XV. When I set out to evaluate the philosophy of Final Fantasy XV, I originally thought the message was so straightforward that there was no need to analyze it. 15 is a story about a magic prince reclaiming his birthright from an evil usurper. And while evil ghosts, gods, and demon science act as story dressing, they didn't add much to commentate on the ideas of monarchy or what it would mean in a modern Americana setting. The role of the summons, the demons, and the demon robots were just cool for the sake of cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then I realized something on my second playthrough. See, Final Fantasy XV is mired in dualities. Originally, it was meant to be a dark counterpart to Final Fantasy XIII, as 13 verses. It later changed into what we know now as this Square Enix love letter to fans, which embraced its roots with a feudal-style fantasy in a modern technological setting. Even its gameplay was oddly divided in this open-world RPG that makes up the most enjoyable gameplay, and the lion's share of playtime, and the hyperlinear main quest narrative, which is more to the form of other Final Fantasies. Yes, I'm aware that calling Final Fantasies other than 13 linear is a bold statement, but that is a discussion for an upcoming video, so be on the lookout for that. Final Fantasy XV's main story is remarkably linear and short, to the point that your average player, depending on skill level and focus, can beat the game in about 6 hours. To compare, a story run of Final Fantasy XIII takes about 19 hours according to howlongtobeat.com, and my personal log time in 15 is 125 hours. On my second playthrough, I only did the main quest in order to get this footage. I realized that more than just being two distinct aspects of the game, the open world game and the linear main quest have two distinct narratives, both of which tackle and criticize the social ethical philosophy called noblesse oblige. Noblesse oblige is a couple fancy French words that literally mean the obligation of the nobles, and it's the idea that wealth, privilege, and power are inherited by a small number of people at birth as a matter of luck. Nobility is created as a result of human social dynamics creating these hierarchies naturally. So, in order to actually earn and merit their status as privileged nobles, such people must dedicate a large portion of their lives and wealth supporting the poor and disenfranchised. Now, to us common folk, this idea sounds pretty good. Us commoners see how rich people are usually rich only because they came from money. The old adage, you need money to make money, rings very true. Thus, we expect those people to realize their basic equality with the rest of humanity, and contribute to the rest of humanity as an obligation the way most of us must in order to survive. The problem with this philosophy is what it becomes when nobility actually put it into practice. When put into practice, the philosophy ends up putting the cart before the horse. Rather than fulfilling the moral obligations freely, they only meet their moral ethical burdens if they are guaranteed their wealth and power and privilege. This frequently results in suppressing common people as soon as their improved quality of life begins to threaten the noble's own particular dominance. In Final Fantasy XV, the open-world road trip is noblesse oblige from the common perspective, and the main story is noblesse oblige from the noble's perspective. While our boy band car bros are exploring the world looking for the various royal arms to help Noctis reclaim the throne, they also earn money as monster hunters and complete little tasks for a bunch of people. Each of these highlights the struggles of common people outside the capital city of Insomnia. The destruction of this city represents Noctis's fall from the throne, and thus his inability to see from the perspective of nobility, despite inheriting the powers of the ruling family. The first side quest with Dave Aubreybury recurs through different regions, leading to various hunter missions and collecting dog tags of fallen hunters. These hunts symbolize Noctis using his nobility to provide for people in a way that they can't easily provide for themselves. As you go through Cindy's side quest for finding regalia parts, you eventually find powerful headlights that allow you to travel at night while keeping the demons at bay. Cindy talks about how despite the safety these lights could bring to the countryside, the capital never made them widely available, and thus the people must still cower at night. Noctis and friends promise to right that wrong once he ascends the throne again. Dino Garans sends the crew on expeditions to find more gems that would allow him to start a jewelry business, but it is gradually revealed that these stones have the ability to strengthen people after it is forged. Dino ultimately wants to make accessories widely available to help improve the people's lives and protect them from the demons. Each of these quests are about spending what you have to alleviate the suffering of society, and Noctis's obligation to sacrifice in order to contribute to this. Even Lady Lunafreya, as the Oracle, fulfills the same purpose of nobility. In her few cutscenes and radio broadcasts, she is seen as a traveling healer that stops people from dying, to the mysterious illness which turns out to be teleporting and transforming humans into more demons. For the main quest, however, it is all about Noctis taking power back from the Emperor of Niflheim, as well as Arden Lucis Kalem. Arden was once a king of Lucis, who absorbed these demon bacteria into his body to heal people. He was rejected by the gods from being the true king, and thus chose to become a source of the demon-creating disease in order to oppress the world until it was in a state of darkness that would allow Arden to reclaim his nobility. The main quest is constantly filled with characters like Kor, Gladiolus, and Luna saying that Noctis must claim his right and rule. But without the open-world gameplay and the side quests, Noctis does nothing to earn the title. He makes no real promises to help the people. Noctis's actions perfectly mirror Arden's. Being exiled and unable to return to Insomnia as king, Noctis seeks power to crush those who took that from him. The only difference between Arden and Noctis is that Noct wants to destroy other nobles, and Arden wants to destroy everyone. But this includes the gods, and Arden can only do this if Noctis gains each astral's power and becomes the true king himself. Arden kills Noctis, all the people who rejected him are gone, the astrals are dead because they died inside Noctis's body, revenge complete. No one is left to reject Arden's rule. Now, it is one interpretation of the story that exposure to the demons is why the astrals rejected Arden, but I don't think this is the case. Bahamut describes Arden as impure in body and soul, and when Noctis meets Bahamut, he receives, quote, the revelation of Bahamut, and that, quote, the king will gain the power to fulfill his calling. And at the end of the fight with Arden, that calling is to be sacrificing his soul and the souls of his ancestors to destroy Arden's soul in the afterlife. This ends the line of Lucis and ends any presence of nobility in this world. From this, I conclude that Arden must have been rejected by Bahamut because he saw Noblesse Oblige as a tool to guarantee his own rule, and thus couldn't fulfill the true purpose of Noblesse Oblige, to sacrifice that nobility for the benefit of others. Quote, many sacrificed all for the king, so must the king sacrifice himself for all. End quote. Thank you for watching, everyone. I was initially underwhelmed by the story of Final Fantasy XV. It really suffered from rushed pacing and disjointed multimedia storytelling, so I'm glad that it still came out with a poetic and philosophically intriguing narrative in the end. This was written before the new improvements to the final chapter of Final Fantasy XV, and to be honest, I'm probably not going to go back to actually see that, but I think there's something to be said about evaluating a game's narrative based on its original release. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you'd like to see more, be sure to subscribe to the channel and tell your friends as well. New analyses of games and animations come out every Saturday, so tell your friends and consider supporting me on Patreon. I hope to see you next week, and as always, stay true.